So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time during this afternoon and come to listen and understand about applied games. Applied games in virtual reality. It's one of the most exciting new career types that's coming up. And NTUC Learning Hub has partnered with Playware Studios, and we've created this program that upskills people into becoming participants in this industry. And there are many, many different exciting roles. There is design, there is development, there is art. And I'm going to be sharing a little bit about the overview, the background of the industry. And I'm going to also share about some of the technologies that are really exciting and what we can look out for and how it's going to actually impact life going forward. So just a little background on myself. My name is Siddharth Jain. I'm the founder and creative director at Playware Studios. Playware is a Singaporean company. We've been around since 2005. And I have many hats. So one of the most interesting things that I do is I do a lot of training with NTU, the School of Art, Design and Media. I teach with the Singapore Institute of Management, and I've taught with NUS and in the Institute of Adult Learning as well. I'm an inventor, I'm a technologist, so I have got 2 technology patents to my name, registered in something like 52 countries globally. I also write about pedagogy, especially pedagogy using simulation in games. And so I've written a couple of courses. Some of them have become WSQ certified. And I used to play games professionally. So I used to actually play games for a living for the longest time. And so I'm very fond of playing video games. I still get, when I get some time, I still like to play a few games with now, of course, I've got grown-up daughters, so with them, and I'm too old to play professionally, so I'm not playing professionally anymore, but it's something that has been with me all through my life. So just as a little bit background of the company, Playware is a Singaporean company, like I said. We've raised over $9 million. We've won many international awards, including a lot of awards for innovation in training, in education technology development, in simulation, in games. We've published a lot of research with academia, like the Alice Lee Center for Nursing Simulation, with the NUHS, with SGH, etc. A lot of our case studies and projects have been published. And we are an experienced team. We draw people from all disciplines. We have people who used to be teachers, people who used to be flight stewards, people who have a background in engineering, people who have a background in art. We have people who've joined us from the television and media industry. And of course, we have software developers, project managers, and the like. And people come from all kinds of backgrounds. As you can see, many different demographics, many different ages, many different, there is no restriction on who you have to be or who you are and what you could do in this space. It's a very empowering industry in that sense. What it requires primarily is passion. So just as a quick background of the company, very early in 2007, we got funding from the National Research Foundation to look into what is called the future schools at SG. And at that time, we were looking at, in 2007, we were going to look at what education was going to look like in 2015. So the future school was 2015. Now we're in 2021, almost reaching 2022. And the future schools is a school of the past. But over the years, we've done a lot of different projects. We were part of the National Primary Game Creation Competition. We've won many, many awards and recognition. And most recently, we've started working extensively with the Ministry of Home Affairs. And I'll be showing you some of the things that we've been doing. People like MHA, SPF, National Narcotics Bureau, the Immigrations and Checkpoint Authority, a lot of the branches of MHA to use games, game-based learning, virtual reality, and other technologies for their work today as well. And increasingly in 2020, because of the COVID, A lot of the healthcare sector has also gone into applied games. And we've been doing a lot of work with nurses training, doctors training. We've been doing training on diabetes, on blood transfusion, on a whole bunch of different topics in healthcare, allied health, at-home care, primary care, and medical care. We've been doing games and applied games and simulations for all of those kinds of topics. So there's an extensive amount of background. Over the years, I've worked on over 300-400 applications in different fields, all of them using virtual reality, all of them using games, all of them using simulations. And I'll be sharing a little bit about what are some of those actions over there. So before we get into the meat and bones of this whole thing, I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about the background, the global canvas against which we are recognizing this sudden shift in applied games, in simulation, in virtual reality. And I wanted to talk about some of the mega trends, the global mega trends that are behind, that are causing this shift. And of course, it's impossible today to talk about anything without COVID coming in the middle. But COVID, unlike for other sectors, COVID has been a huge boom for the applied games and simulation industry. It's one of those things that is antithesis. As the world was suffering from the COVID-19 crisis, more and more industries, more and more corporates, more and more training was moving online. And what you could see is that not only were people using games more frequently, so the entertainment games market saw a massive growth spurt in the past year and a half, past 2 years. Not only did that happen, but even corporates started moving a lot of their work, a lot of their training online. And that also has seen a massive increase, massive spurt in popularity. And what we see today is that going forward into the future, we believe that more and more of the world is going to stay immersive. It's going to stay online. And you can actually begin to see it with even big companies like Facebook announcing things like the metaverse. You can see that NVIDIA talks about the metaverse and how they're going to build it using their graphics cards. You can see how AMD and Intel and Qualcomm and all these companies are doing so well. And even big giants, technology giants like Microsoft and Apple have announced products in augmented reality, mixed reality. So you've heard of things like the HoloLens. And I believe that early next year, we're going to see the first AR goggles come out from Apple as well. So that's long awaited. And very soon you'll see the AR kit from Apple as well. And you can quite safely say that in the future, the virtual reality and the mixed augmented reality are going to mix into a new reality where you are going to have intelligent overlays of what's happening around you. And there will be many interesting ways. It's really going to be looking like the future, and it's going to be quite exciting as well. So just in terms of the games market, I mentioned that the games market ballooned in 2020. There was a massive spurt in revenue. Just mobile games grew to be a $70 billion industry globally. And for those of you who may not know it, games is the largest entertainment market today. It is way larger than music. It is much larger than movies, and it is even bigger than Netflix and television. So games is the largest entertainment market today, and it has become very mainstream. When we think about a gamer, when I ask you what a gamer looks like, when I was younger, if you ask someone who is a gamer, the question was usually answered with some sort of a gamer is a teenage boy. And that's what you would think. But today, when you think about it, a gamer can be somebody who's actually making big money. And you have a lot of people who are playing games online. on things like Twitch, on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live, and making large amounts of money. These are people who made their profession playing video games, playing interactive media, and sharing their media online. And this is the esports industry. And it's a pretty large industry on its own. And when you look at the demographics of mobile gamers globally, what you can see is there are more girls, more women playing games than men as well. So it's no longer true that you can say that games are for teenage boys. That's not true anymore. Today, everybody, all demographics, all age groups play games. In fact, if I was to compare how much games I play with how many games my mother plays, my mother, who's 75 years old, she plays a lot longer, a lot more. Of course, she's playing games like Match 3 and puzzle games, but she's playing more games online than I am. So today, when you talk about games in virtual reality, and when you talk about who uses games in virtual reality, it is no longer geeky boys that you're talking about. You're talking about a much, much wider demographic. Many different types of people are playing games. When you look at the longer term in the industry, and today when we talked about, I mean, this is from Unity. Unity is a game engine developer. Unity develops the world's largest, most popular game engine. And today, all kinds of institutions, all kinds of developers are developing content for Oculus, developing content for mobile, Android, iOS, for Windows, developing content for your new, your Nintendo Switch or your PlayStation or Xbox, all use this game engine called Unity. And so Unity is the largest game engine in the world. They just did an IPO. They were valued at about $30 billion last year in their initial public offering in the New York Stock Exchange, actually on NASDAQ. And they see that gaming is their big market today. It's almost a $12 billion market for them today. But they see that the larger market, the much larger market is going to be the industry and enterprise market and AR and VR. And they are saying that even for them, even for the biggest game technology developer in the world, the bigger markets, the bigger trends they see are in the sectors of applied games, of serious games, of games for the industry, for the Factory 4.0, and for the smart cities initiatives. So even for traditional entertainment companies, for traditional game companies, they are starting to look at the larger adoption of games and game technologies for non-entertainment users, for users beyond the games for entertainment sector. And you're going to look at things like healthcare and others coming in. So just look at some of the things that games can do. So when you do a filter on your TikTok or Instagram, typically it is using game engines, it's using AR engines, it's using the AR kit, it's using the camera, it's using a lot of the technologies that are derived from video games, and it's creating those filters for you on your camera. When you go and do real estate shopping, and when you are looking at something like a Matterport or something like a 3D recreation or a virtual reality walkthrough of a flat, again, the technologies that you are using, the technologies that you are seeing are technologies that owe their existence to the games and entertainment and the virtual reality sector. And you can see it becoming more and more popular. In fact, due to the pandemic last year, a lot of the real estate sales that happened. So if you had Singaporean investors who invested in Australian or New Zealand properties or the properties in the UK, they could not go to those locations. And therefore, they had to make those purchasing decisions. They had to make those buying decisions by looking at the property in virtual reality, by experiencing the property online virtually through a simulation. And that is becoming more and more prevalent. And we will see that not just residential, but commercial and all kinds of real estate is going to be sold, is going to be featured, is going to be demonstrated, is going to be showcased using these technologies. And not just real estate, all kinds of products. So today, if you go to Shopify, if you go to Amazon, it can let you select a product. You want to buy a lamp. You can actually use augmented reality and place that lamp into your living room, into your bedroom, and see what it looks like before you even click on the buy button. And that is the power of virtual reality, mixed reality. It's able to build and bring concepts from somebody's imagination straight into your homes. We are also seeing that more and more of our interactions are happening online. I just finished teaching a course, there were 30 students, and I was teaching that course purely online. And all the students used to show up only logging in online. I never met them physically. I only interacted with them online. And now you can see that in things like Zoom, you have virtual backgrounds, you have avatars. You can even start to do filters. And what we will see tomorrow with the metaverse coming in is that you're going to have virtual characters. Instead of seeing somebody's camera feed, you're going to see their avatar, and you're going to be able to see their avatar interact with you. And it's inevitable, it's going to be part of the future, where we are going to see all these kinds of interactions becoming more commonplace. Even as the economy opens up, even as the world opens up, and we are allowed to go back out, and face-to-face meetings, face-to-face parties, lunches, dinners, and other social gatherings start to happen, we will continue to see virtual interaction and virtual, these things are not only options, and they don't have to happen either or, they can all happen together. And we are going to see more mixed kind of events, more events where the virtual and the real attendees can interact with each other in the virtual and the real world. You even have interactions. This is Bunch, which is a video sharing app where you can actually play a game together with your friends. And while somebody is playing a game, you have friends, they can sit together and they can talk. And they don't need to be in the same room. You could be 8 different people sitting in 8 different locations, and you could play something together. And it brings together a kind of community. It brings together a kind of closeness that used to not be possible. Today, if you have a cousin in the United States who's going to get married, they can involve you in their wedding. They can involve you in their wedding preparation. They can involve you in their wedding talk, even without you having to travel to the United States. And that's the power of virtual presence and virtual reality. But not only is this happening for fun, it's also deadly serious. And a lot of police forces, including our own in Singapore, have started to use virtual reality, have started to use mixed reality, have started to use simulation for training of their personnel. And so this is a very, very powerful new mode. And it's not limited to just the defense or the civil defense sector, but even in construction, workplace safety, working at heights, operating heavy machinery, operating complex cranes, all of those are being taught using AR and VR. And like I said, the healthcare sector has adopted it wholesale. And today, for the training of nurses, for the training of doctors, for the training of even patients, a lot of virtual reality, mixed reality, and simulation is being used. So I'm going to share with you now a quick video of some of the possibilities of how interaction can take place in the mixed reality using an example from Microsoft.
Penny walks in on location. She has to set up the space for a product unveil for a group of clients. Enter Microsoft HoloLens, the world's first untethered holographic computer. The device maps the room in order to construct a digital map of the space, allowing Penny to fill the room with holograms. What you see here is next-generation hand tracking. Penny moves the holograms throughout the room in real time and space. The boxes react using physics-based simulations, just like they would in the real physical world.
Sorry, Penny. This may be a bad time, but the client is on an earlier flight.
We're so not ready.
Should we start to panic?
Not yet. Just bring the team in, please.
Windows brings spatial sound, articulated hand tracking, and Samir's own hands into VR.
I can see you're hard at work, Samir, but Penny needs your help.
Yeah, sure thing. Just let me check out this bunker real quick.
Samir, the client is on...
As per usual, your sense of timing is just awesome.
Kai-san, Pennyが呼んでいますけど。
今すぐ行くって伝えて。
Kai joins the conversation as a hologram. Samir also appears as a 3D avatar, which he scanned himself using his phone.
Cute.
I try.
So, how's it coming?
It's not. This is the flagship store. It's gotta be unforgettable.
Yeah, not exactly blowing my hair back.
Yeah, the space is driving me nuts.
All right, how about a change of scenery?
Welcome to Think Club.
Imagine the web of the future, where you can draw inspiration from the cloud, in 3 dimensions and all around you.
Some inspiration, please.
Namaste.
These bots help them interface with businesses. This one helps them find amazing 3D assets.
Inspiration comes from the most unfamiliar places. I made you, you are now me.
Kai uses a pen and Samir uses a specialized controller in order for them both to manipulate and design the 3D creation. The team forgets that they are not together physically as they continue collaborating on the design. Penny picks up the eyedropper to grab a color from the physical ceiling in order to make things feel more anchored. Through the conversational bot, we see a real-time translation of what Penny's client is saying.
Impressive.
That went well.
So the opportunities in the virtual reality, in augmented reality, mixed reality fields don't just limit themselves to education and training, but go beyond into healthcare, into construction, into manufacturing. You've got logistics, things like the PSA, the Port of Singapore Authority already is trying to start training people using simulations on how to operate their massive cranes, on how to move containers, etc. There are opportunities in advertising and marketing, defense, private security. There are just so many different ways in which these technologies can be used. One of the biggest ideas that is happening today is the idea of learning on your own. So you're already used to things like Udemy. You're used to things like learning online with, if you used Solera, you can learn coding online. There are so many different opportunities. You could just pick up Google, and Google something and learn how to do sculpture or anything on something like YouTube. And so education online in a virtual environment is going to be massive. And that's one of the biggest growing sectors, educational apps, the use of educational technology, the distance learning technology, virtual reality technology for education is one of the big sectors in the market. Same way with gamification. If you open up your Lazada or if you open up Shopee today, often you can, in Lazada, for instance, you can have a garden, and as you play, you get points and you collect points, and those points can become discount vouchers, and you can use those discount vouchers to buy things during, say, the 11/11 sale, right? And so what's happening is gamification is becoming huge as well. And what gamification is doing is it's bringing this idea of interaction, this idea of engagement into applications that often used to not have it in the past. So today, DBS Bank, your banking operations, everything has badges, it has tracking, your Fitbit counts your steps and tells you how well you are doing in terms of your physical fitness, your preparedness for combating things like hypertension and diabetes, etc. So the gamification market is also booming. But serious games are a huge, huge sector where you can look at beyond even these things like retail sector. You're looking at things like healthcare sector. There are so many different places it's going to be used, and it is getting used. And this is a global movement. It's not just something that's happening in Asia Pacific. It's not something that's happening only in the US, but it's happening globally. And you can see that the sector divides into several different, very powerful forms, with simulation, with human resources, with research and planning, with advertising and marketing, and many, many, many others. And so today we are seeing this, this huge spurt on mobile phones and tablets, but tomorrow it's also going to be augmented reality. It's going to be mixed reality. It's going to be virtual reality applications. And all of these things come together. They are all built in similar technologies. And this is one of the biggest, jobs of the future, job sectors of the future. It's one of the most exciting places for you to be. And you could be many things in this. You can be a designer, you can be a project manager, you can be a coder, you can be a developer, you can be a content writer. There are so many different ways in which you could participate in this growth sector industry, this massively growing industry. And I'm going to share some of those with you in the future. Just in the virtual training and simulation market, in the next 3 years, it's valued at over $200 billion. So if you remember, I talked about the starting of this, that games today is a very large market, and a global gaming industry is about $150 billion, right? The global video games industry, which is the largest entertainment industry in the world, is about $150 billion. But the virtual training and simulation market in Asia alone is going to be over $200 billion in the coming years. So it is a massive growth sector, and you can't afford to be sitting out this sector. You should be participating in this sector. You should be looking at the opportunities, looking at the engagement in this sector, figuring out what part you can play in this massively growing sector, and how can you be part of this ecosystem. There are so many different polys, universities. There are so many different incubation centers in Singapore today, so many initiatives, so much money is getting pumped into it from venture capital, from the government grants, that you can't afford to be sitting this one out. You have to be participating in this. So how do you become an applied games and VR specialist, right? What do you need to do to get into this sector? So I'm going to cover some of the various technologies, some of the various tools, some of the various different kinds of development environments that people use to create content for virtual reality, applied games, and mixed reality. As with everything, the first thing that you need is you need a can-do attitude. You need a mindset that lets you say, okay, I'm going to be a lifelong learner and I'm going to keep learning. So that's the first thing you need. And once you have that attitude, once you've inculcated that attitude, the world's your oyster and you can do anything. You can learn anything and you can get anywhere. And I have met many people who have made their career switches in the middle of their life, who have made career switches at the end of their lives as well. I know a person who has become a very major evangelist of simulation-based training after being MOE principal for 63 years of his life. And on his retirement, he moved into virtual reality virtual reality education and online learning, and completely transitioned his skill sets and his career. When you start thinking about these things, one of the first things that you got to look up is how to do 3D. And this one is pretty scary looking software, but it's incredibly easy to use, and it's absolutely free. This is a software called Blender. Blender 3D is one of the most powerful 3D manipulation softwares in the world, and it is an open source software offered free to the community. And one of the things that we teach in our course is how to use Blender. So Blender is beautiful. You can model cities, you can model characters, you can model vehicles, you can model weapons, you can model anything in 3D using Blender. Next is the Unity game engine. One of the software technologies that we will be teaching in this course is going to be Unity. Unity is the most popular game engine in the world today. So there's essentially two main competitors, Unity and Unreal, and Unity by far is the most popular engine in the world. There are other engines as well that are called like Godot or Lumberyard from Amazon, etc. But if you learn how to use Unity, you have a pretty good understanding, a very strong grasp, and you can learn how to use other game engines as well. So the Unity game engine, this is the editor interface, and the Unity game engine has tools, not just for programmers, but also for designers and also for artists. And you can learn how to use Unity online. The next thing that you will look at to become a developer is to learn how to use various different types of code. This plan is particularly C#, but we have C#, we teach you JavaScript as well. You can look at some of these coding languages. These are some of the most popular coding languages in the world. They're extremely powerful and incredibly complex, and you can pick them up. They're simple to pick up, easy to use, and once you've gotten the hang of it, you can build pretty much anything today. All kinds of apps, all kinds of software can be built using these languages. Then we will be looking at something like databases. You'll be able to do something with SQL. Some of the major softwares in the world use databases for organizing and cataloging data. And of course, we will even be looking at some of the ideas behind what DevOps is and how cloud operations work. So covering all this and more, we can look at what are some of the ways in which you can become useful in this industry. What are some of the things that you could do? What are some of the roles that you could take? The pedagogy that we apply, that we use is an analyze, apply, and create pedagogy. It's basically 3 parts. And in the 3 parts, the first part, you learn about game design. You learn to analyze other people's content, other people's development. You can learn about games and gamification through the lenses of history of the industry. You can learn a little bit about how the market works, what the various genres are, what kind of narratives happen in this space, how does design work, and most importantly, how does psychology work? How do people think, and how to use that to make your products more engaging, more interesting. So you're going to learn a lot about the mind, the neuroscience behind games, and it's the rationale behind games as well. The second thing that we talk about is you learn how to apply those skills in various things. So you can look at the processes of gamification, the methods and tools, how do projects work. You can look at, entertainment, government, K-12. We'll be sharing something about healthcare sector. We'll be looking at the corporate domain, and we're going to talk about how some of those things work in each of these spaces. And of course, you're going to learn how to make these things yourself. So you're going to see how to start your own project. You're going to see how to develop, what are the publishing models, how you can take a product from a design, an idea, to a finished software, from a to a finished space, and how you can implement that. So this is the map of the learning over time. We will start with foundational skills, So you will learn how to use gamification, game design, script writing, storyboarding, UX design, and then you will start developing your own assets in 2D and 3D. You'll also learn how to do music and sound effects. You'll learn how to do simulation modeling. You'll learn how to do level design, how to add things like awards and badges. You'll learn how to do a little bit of scripting with HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript and XML and C#. And then, of course, you will learn how to publish content for the virtual reality, for the mobile space, for online content publishing, etc. And so this will move you from foundational skills to advanced skills. And these are some of the tools and technologies that you'll be learning. So it's a 6-month program. And as you can see, it ends in a hands-on capstone project that is built by you. So I'm going to talk a little bit more specifically. I talked a little bit about the global market. I talked a little bit about how this market is booming in Asia, but I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about what are the opportunities available in Singapore itself. What you can see is that there are many demonstratable skills, many different types of job roles that you could actually have. And you can get into design tools, and you have things like the Play Structure tool. You've got Open Badges, Sketch, Adobe Creative Suite, Excel, Twine, Storyboarder. You've got the Game Maker Studio, you've got the Unity Game Engine. All of these tools you can use. In terms of skill sets, you have things like concept design, concept pitching, persuasive writing, motivational psychology, all of these different types of things. And of course, you've got thinking skills, critical thinking skills, interdisciplinary collaboration. You learn how to work with artists. Artists will learn how to work with developers. Developers will learn how to work with project managers, and all the disciplines will learn how to work with each other so that they can work as a collaboration. They can work together as a team, and they can produce interactive content and powerful pieces of media that can be used to interest people across various different types of industries. Here are some of the job roles and job skills, and you can see even entry-level requirements, early requirements can pay some good salaries. And you can look at some of the design fields, some of the tracks that are available. Typical posting will talk about learning how to do video production, micro learning, gamification, training, etc. A typical, it can be in the advertising media space. It can be in the, game space. It can be virtual reality and training space as well. And you can see that there are lots of different kinds of openings available. This is a statistical survey. And as you can see that there were close to about 3,000 job openings in September of 2020. This year, there are similar numbers, and constantly there are lots of people who are looking for people with these kinds of skill sets. And these skill sets are so much in demand. With passes not being available today, Singaporeans are enjoying higher and higher salaries in this space as they up their skills, as they up their game, and they get better employment in different organizations. So here's a little video showing the course and what you can expect.